So to conclude, stress by itself is neither good nor bad, or it is both. We cannot have a blanket statement that stress is helpful or not helpful, harmful. It depends on the context. Can stress help us in certain contexts? Are there benefits that we can get from stress? Absolutely. But it depends on the kind of work. So stress can help us focus, stress energizes us, it can give us that extra energy needed to push through and to finish a task. It can give us single-mindedness. It can caution us and make us prudent and alert. It can also make us social, so it can motivate us to go out, seek support. It can motivate us to go out and give support. Now, are these benefits going to be helpful to you? That depends on the nature of challenge, right? So if the task at hand is something that needs focus and single-minded attention and something that you need to finish, it's a deadline, it doesn't need creativity, it doesn't need you to look at the big picture, it doesn't need nuanced thinking in several shades of grey, then stress can help you. But if it is a task that needs you to look at the big picture, if it's a task that needs you to see the brighter side of things, it's a task that needs you to be liberal in giving your judgments about people, then stress might not be helpful, right? So can stress be useful or not? It really depends on the nature of the task. It also depends on whether it's individual or group, right? So if you've ever been on one of those team building exercises where you go whitewater rafting or you go on a hike and you go through these, your sort of dangerous contexts where there's a lot of stress, and you come back feeling this real sense of bonding with the team, that's oxytocin, right? That's the oxytocin that was released during the stressful simulation or the activity that actually helped you bond better and create better relationships with your peers. So if you feel more connected to people that you've gone through a danger with, or people that you've gone through this really challenging phase or trek with, that's oxytocin. Those are benefits, right? So those are benefits of stress. So stress can benefit you, but it really depends on the nature of the task and the context. What about the harmful effects of stress? Yes, they exist. Certain functions in your body are put on pause when we are under stress. So the reproductive system and the digestive system and growth and immunity, they do function less effectively. Some parts of your brain, all of these do function less effectively. So it is the trade-off that you're making for that excess energy and that excess focus. And the excess energy is also, it's a burst of energy that you're sort of drawing from your own future reserves of energy. So it's not the creation of new energy. So are you making trade-offs to get those benefits? Absolutely. Does it make sense? I think it makes sense. I don't think we should be very fast in judging ourselves about it. Let me give you an analogy. What do stimulants like tea and coffee do, for example? Tea and coffee, they give you that burst of energy, and a lot of us drink it before important tasks. They don't create energy, they help you borrow energy from our own future reserves of energy. And it might make sense, and nobody is going to judge us, nobody can judge us on whether we might decide that we have I might decide, for example, that I have a class where it's important for me to have or a match to play an important burst of energy, and so I borrow energy from my own future self, and after the match or the class I go back and relax and I'm fine. The thing is, so remember the troughs and the peaks that I drew? So that's really stress. So we can use nature's design of the stress response intelligently. I think the only caution we need to be really cautious about, the only caution is to not fool ourselves into believing that this benefit is there to stay forever. It is to recognize that the benefit works for certain kind of tasks and certain kinds of contexts. And it is also important and prudent to recognize that this benefit works in spikes, in short bursts. It's not something that we can continue at a prolonged pace, because this benefit comes with certain costs. There are certain other functions that are giving up their right to function in order to give you these benefits. So let's appreciate nature's design. Nature's design of the brain, which has a primitive brain, a limbic brain, a prefrontal cortex with division of work. Let's appreciate nature's design of our bodies. Let's appreciate the design of the sympathetic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system. It's a very, very intelligently and, dare I say, thoughtfully and compassionately put together structure that nature has given us in terms of our body-mind system. Stress becomes a problem if we ignore what we know about the way nature has put us together, and we expect our bodies and minds to operate like machines, because we have designed machines in a certain way and we want to run like machines. As long as we decide to acknowledge our human selves and work in line with that design, I think we wouldn't get to a place where stress really, gets very damaging for us. And lastly, let's acknowledge that stress is just a word that has been coined by us. It's not something that exists out there, it's just a word. And the science about stress is still evolving. The science is incomplete. The science about everything is incomplete. And the science about stress is really, really incomplete, and it's still evolving. We're still learning more about our bodies. We're still learning more about our minds. We're still learning more about all the functions of these multiple hormones that are released and the way they react with one another. In fact, the discovery about oxytocin being related to stress and actually providing a natural buffer to some of the ill effects of stress that are caused by adrenaline on the heart is a very recent discovery. So as we learn more and more about stress, let's be open to revising our own ideas about stress, and in the meanwhile, let's use what we already know. So let's use this knowledge about the way we've been put together, but let's be open to revising this model of how we respond to stress. And let's be open to adopting the most functional and conducive and helpful beliefs about stress as we can in the meanwhile, because our beliefs and attitudes indeed do influence our reality. And as two latest studies in the United States have recently confirmed, it's the beliefs about stress more than the stress itself that actually leads to long-term damage in people's human bodies. So yes, so let's be open to revising and understanding this whole notion of stress, and let's proactively also decide to adopt the most functional and useful beliefs about stress and about our own body's ability to actually interact with stress in a way that we can use it to work for us at times and places that we want it to, and not the other way around.